Hey everyone, Ethan here. This is The Last Laugh, the place where truth catches up with people who thought it never would. If you're here for that, hit subscribe. Let's get into it. The text came in at 2:14 p.m. on a Thursday in late April. I was sitting in my office, reviewing a term sheet with our CFO, halfway through a clause about equity structure, when my phone buzzed on the desk. It was from my father. It took me less than a minute to read it. It took longer to decide what to do with it. Olivia's wedding is family only. Daniel's parents will be there. His father sits on the board at Goldman. We can't risk your situation complicating things for her. Please understand. I read it again. Then once more, 22 floors up. The Chicago skyline stretched out in front of me, steel, glass, and money. Inside, everything was quiet, controlled. Somewhere in that message, I'd gone from son to liability, from family to risk. I didn't call him. I didn't argue. I didn't ask for an explanation. I typed back one word. Okay. He replied almost instantly. Thank you for being mature about this. Your mother and I appreciate it. This is important for Olivia's future. I set my phone face down, then I went back to work. Nexora Systems had 380 employees across 5 offices. Chicago, New York, Austin, Seattle, London. We'd crossed a $2.1 billion valuation 3 months earlier after our Series C, led by Blackstone Growth. Forbes had put me on their 30 under 30 list twice. Fast Company called us one of the most disruptive enterprise AI firms in North America. We were in late-stage negotiations with Blackridge Holdings on a full acquisition. The number being discussed was just north of $2.6 billion. And Daniel Brooks, Olivia's fiancé, worked in their corporate finance division. None of this was new. What was new was how little of it my family knew. Or maybe more accurately, how much they had chosen not to know. To them, I worked in tech. Something vague, something unimpressive. Sometimes it was IT support, sometimes data stuff. Once, my father described it as something with spreadsheets. I stopped correcting them years ago. Not because I didn't care, because it didn't change anything. 7 years earlier, at my cousin's wedding in Boston, I learned that lesson clearly. I was 24. We had just closed our seed, around $2.5 million from 3 angel investors. Nexora had 11 employees, most of them crammed into a shared workspace above a coffee shop in Cambridge. We had just signed our first enterprise client, $380,000 in annual recurring revenue. It felt like everything. At the reception, my father stood near the bar, telling anyone who would listen about the groom. Cardiologist, he said. Harvard Medical School, residency at Mass General, published research. He repeated it like a script, like it mattered more each time he said it. Someone asked what I did. He waved his hand. Ethan's still figuring things out. Something with computers. There was a pause, a polite nod. The conversation moved on. I stood there, holding a drink I didn't want, listening to my own life get summarized into something small enough to ignore. I could have corrected him. I didn't, because in that moment, I understood something simple. If people decide who you are without asking, they're not looking for the truth. They're looking for something that fits. So I let it fit, and I kept building anyway. That wedding wasn't an isolated moment. It was a pattern, the kind that doesn't announce itself. It just repeats until it becomes normal. At holidays, my father would ask Olivia about her plans, her internships, her friends, the people she was dating. There was always interest there, curiosity, investment. When it came to me, the questions were different, still working with computers. Things going okay, never specific, never followed up. Answers didn't matter, so I stopped giving them. My mother wasn't much different. She'd nod when I spoke, smile in that polite way people do when they're waiting for you to finish. Then she turned the conversation back to something she understood, something visible: titles, salaries, weddings, houses. Things you could explain in a sentence. By 26. Nexora had grown past 50 employees. We had 2 offices, real clients, real revenue. I was spending more time in boardrooms than at home. None of that came up at dinner, not once. They knew Olivia's boyfriend's job title within minutes of meeting him. They never asked what mine actually was. Over time, it stopped bothering me, or at least that's what I told myself. I learned to sit through conversations where I was reduced to a placeholder version of myself. Something unfinished, something temporary. It was easier that way. Less friction, less expectation, less disappointment. So when my father sent that message telling me I couldn't come to my own sister's wedding because I might embarrass her, it didn't feel new. It just felt like the same story, told a little more clearly. Olivia called that night. It was a little after 9. Most of the office had cleared out, but I was still at my desk. going through the final integration models for the Blackridge deal. Spreadsheets open, forecasts lined up, numbers that actually meant something. My phone lit up. I let it ring twice before answering. "Hey," she said. Her voice was controlled, careful, like she'd rehearsed it. "Hey, so, Dad told you about the wedding." He did. A pause. "I'm sorry," she said. She didn't sound sorry. She sounded relieved. "It's just Daniel's family is really important. Like, really important." She let that sit for a second. "His dad knows everyone on Wall Street. This is a big deal for us." "I understand," I said. "Do you?" She asked quickly, "Because it's not personal. It's just, you know how Dad gets. And Daniel's parents are very traditional. They expect a certain kind of family." "What kind?" I asked. Silence. I could hear background noise, silverware, voices, a low hum of a restaurant. She wasn't alone. "You know what I mean," she said finally. "I don't," she exhaled sharply. "Ethan, don't do this. I'm asking a question." Another pause. "Daniel is a managing director at Goldman Sachs," she said, her tone shifting firmer now, like she was presenting a case. "He makes 350 base. His bonus was over 300 last year. His family summers in the Hamptons. They have a place in Aspen. They know senators, CEOs, people who matter." I didn't say anything. On my screen, a projection updated. Next quarter revenue $140 million. They expect a certain standard, she continued. A certain image. Established, polished, put together. "And I'm not that. You're complicated," she said. I almost smiled. "Having you there," she went on. It doesn't fit the narrative we're trying to present." Narrative. I let the word sit between us. "Don't be like this," she said quickly. "You're doing that thing again." "What thing?" "Where you act like everything's fine, but you're actually judging me." "I'm working," I said. "I'm at the office." "At 9 at night," she shot back. "Exactly. You can't even prioritize your own family. You're always buried in that tech support job, or whatever it is you do." I set my pen down. "Olivia," I said. "I need to go." "Wait," she said, her tone tightening. "I'm not trying to be mean. I just need you to understand how this looks. Daniel's parents are the kind of people who notice things. They ask questions. I can't have them asking about my older brother, who lives alone and works at some startup nobody's ever heard of." I looked at the skyline outside my window. "Some startup nobody's ever heard of," I repeated. "You know what I mean." "I do." "Good," she said, exhaling. "So you understand why this makes sense. I understand you don't want me there." "It's not about want," she said quickly. "It's about what's appropriate." "Got it." "God, you're so cold sometimes," she snapped. "Can't you just say you're hurt? Can't you act like a normal person who actually cares about his family?" I didn't. There was a shift on the other end. Her voice dropped. Sharper now. "Daniel looked you up. By the way," I said nothing. "Your LinkedIn is not great," she continued. "CEO of Nexora Systems. Nobody's heard of that. You don't even have a proper headshot. It looks amateur." I almost laughed. "Almost. His father asked what you did," she added. "I told him you worked in tech. He just nodded, like he was being polite." A pause. "So yeah," she said. "You see the problem?" "I do." "Then we're good. We're clear. Don't be mad." "I'm not." "Then why do you sound like that?" "Like what?" "Like you think you're better than me." I looked down at the numbers on my screen. "I don't think about you like that," I said. There was a long silence. "Then fine," she said. The line went dead. I sat there for a few seconds, phone still in my hand. Then I set it down and went back to work. The following Tuesday, David knocked on my office door at 10:47 a.m. He didn't wait for an answer before stepping in. He never did. "Daniel Brooks is here for his final interview," he said. I looked up from my laptop. I had been reviewing the cultural integration plan for the Blackridge acquisition org charts. Leadership redundancies, cost alignment, numbers that decided who stayed and who didn't. "The Goldman candidate," I said. "That's him." David held his tablet in one hand, already scrolling. "He's cleared 4 rounds. Finance with Patricia, strategy with James, product with Allison, culture with HR. You're the last step. If you sign off, we extend an offer." I leaned back slightly. "What do we know Daniel Brooks?" 34, managing director at Goldman Sachs, corporate finance division, 12 years there, started as an analyst, worked his way up, led the Walton Group merger last year, $4.5 billion deal. I nodded once. I remembered the deal. Wharton MBA, top of his class, Cornell undergrad, strong references across the board. Patricia said he's the best finance candidate we've seen in 2 years. And James called his strategic thinking sharp and disciplined. Said he asks the right questions. Doesn't bluff when he doesn't know something. That mattered. "Why is he leaving Goldman?" I asked. David didn't look up. "Wants to build instead of advise. Operating role. Equity upside. Tired of being on the outside of decisions." I closed my laptop. That answer was common. Sometimes it was even true. "Who's in the room?" I asked. "Patricia and James. They both want you to like him." Of course they did. I glanced at my calendar. 11:00 a.m. boardroom. 3 minutes. Give me 5, I said. Then bring him in. David nodded and stepped out. The door closed behind him. I stood and walked to the window. Chicago stretched out below gray sky. Hard lines. Cranes cutting into the skyline. The city was building upward. Fast. Aggressive. So were we. My phone buzzed on the desk. A text from my mother. Thank you for understanding about the wedding. Olivia is so happy. This is such a wonderful match for her. Daniel's parents are lovely. We had dinner with them last night. They were very impressed with our family. I read it once. Then I locked my phone and set it in the drawer. No reply. Down the hall, through the glass walls. I could see the boardroom already set. Patricia was at the table, laptop open, posture straight, focused. James sat across from her, flipping through a printed copy of the candidate's resume, notes in the margins, prepared, professional, unaware. I adjusted my jacket, picked up my pen, and walked out of the office. The boardroom sat at the end of the hall, glass on 3 sides, a long table cut from dark reclaimed oak, 12 black leather chairs, clean lines, no clutter. On the far wall, a massive screen displayed Nexora's latest valuation metrics. $2.1 billion, highlighted in white against a black background. Behind my seat, on the credenza, a framed Forbes cover from February, my photo, my name, a headline about disruption and scale. Patricia and James were already there. He should be strong, Patricia said as I took my seat at the head of the table. His restructuring plan for our M&A pipeline was better than expected. He spotted inefficiencies we hadn't flagged, confident without being sloppy. James added, knows where his gaps are. That's rare. What's his read on Blackridge? I asked. Positive, Patricia said. He sees the strategic fit, suggested some integration angles that were actually useful. He brought it up himself, James said. Knows it's happening. Wants to be part of what comes after. I nodded once. Good. David appeared at the door. Daniel Brooks. The man who walked in was exactly what I expected. 6'2", navy suit tailored within an inch of precision, white shirt, burgundy tie, gold watch that caught the light just enough to be noticed. He moved like someone who belonged in rooms like this. He smiled at Patricia, shook James's hand, then he turned to me, and stopped. It wasn't subtle. His body froze mid-step. The expression didn't just change. It collapsed, color drained, then rushed back too fast. Recognition. Immediate. Unmistakable. His hand started to come up for a handshake. Didn't make it. You, he said. The word came out tight. Wrong. I didn't stand. Mr. Brooks, I said evenly. Have a seat. He didn't move. His eyes flicked my face. The nameplate in front of me. The screen behind me. The Forbes cover over my shoulder. Putting it together. Too fast. Too late. This is Ethan Keller, David said from the doorway. Smooth, neutral, founder and CEO of Nexora Systems. Daniel's mouth opened, closed, opened again. Nothing came out. Patricia glanced at me, then back at him. A small shift in her posture. Attention sharpened. Is everything all right, Mr. Brooks? She asked. He swallowed, hard. I didn't. His eyes came back to me. You thought what I asked. My voice didn't change. Rachel said you worked in tech support. The room went still. James leaned back slightly. Patricia didn't react, but I saw the flicker understanding landing in real time. Olivia, I said. Not a question. He nodded. She's my fiancé, he said quickly. We're getting married in 2 weeks. Congratulations. He sat down like his legs gave out halfway through the decision. Does she know he asked? Know what he gestured at everything? The room, the numbers, me. No, I said. That's not relevant to this conversation. Silence. Heavy now. David, I said without looking away from him. Walk Mr. Brooks through the role one more time. David stepped forward, launched into the overview. Title, scope, reporting structure. Daniel didn't hear most of it. He kept looking at me, like reality might reset if he stared long enough. After a few minutes, I raised a hand. Questions I asked. He shook his head once, then stopped, forced himself to focus. Your family doesn't know, he said. They don't. That you're... He stopped, tried again. That this is yours. It is. He exhaled, slow, uneven. Olivia told me you couldn't come to the wedding because you'd embarrass her in front of my parents. Patricia's fingers paused on her keyboard. James's jaw tightened. I didn't respond. She said you were struggling, he went on. Low-level tech job. Still figuring things out. That your father didn't want us meeting you because it would reflect badly on the family. Still nothing from me. My father asked about you, Daniel said. She told him you worked at a startup that probably wouldn't last. A beat. I need to call her, he said suddenly, pushing his chair back. I can't. I need to sit down. He stopped, looked at me. Did it. You're here for an interview, I said. We're conducting one. When we're done, you can call whoever you want. I can't think straight right now. Then let me simplify it. I leaned forward slightly. This company is valued at $2.1 billion. We're finalizing an acquisition at approximately $2.6 billion. We're hiring a VP of corporate development to lead M&A strategy, integration, and partnerships post-close. I held his gaze. Base compensation is 300 to 350. Equity between 0.15 and 0.25. Bonus up to 100%. A pause. Are you qualified for that role? His hands were clasped too tight on the table. Yes. Then answer like you are. The interview continued. 20 minutes. He answered everything. Technically correct. Strategically acceptable. But his focus wasn't there. It couldn't be. He kept drifting, glancing at me, recalibrating, trying to reconcile the version of me he'd been given with the one sitting across from him. When it ended, I stood. Thank you for your time, Mr. Brooks. We'll be in touch by end of week. He stood slower. Ethan, I'm Mr. Keller, I said. Quiet, precise. He flinched. I didn't know, he said. Olivia never. I'm aware of what Olivia told you. He hesitated. Are you going to tell her about this? That's between you and her? The wedding is in 2 weeks. I'm aware. He looked at me for a long second. Why would you let us think? He didn't finish. You weren't asking for the truth, I said. You were accepting what fit. Silence. Then he picked up his briefcase and left. The door closed behind him. Patricia turned to me slowly. What the hell was that? I didn't sit back down. That, I said, was my sister's fiancé. James stared. The one you weren't invited to. That one. Patricia leaned back. Because you'd embarrassed them. I nodded once. No one said anything after that. The room stayed quiet for a few seconds after the door closed. Patricia was the first to break it. Okay, she said slowly, leaning back in her chair. We're not just moving past that. James didn't look away from the door. That explains a lot. I didn't respond. I walked back to my seat, picked up my pen, and glanced at Daniel's resume like nothing had changed. Let's finish the debrief, I said. Patricia studied me for a moment, then she nodded once, shifted gears. Technically, she said, he's strong. His M&A framework is solid. He sees structural gaps quickly. Agreed, James said. But he lost the room halfway through. You could feel it. You could see it, Patricia added. The second he realized who you were, he stopped thinking strategically. Everything became reactive. I wrote a short note on the margin of the page. Composure under pressure, inconsistent. He's not used to being surprised, James said. Or challenged in a way he can't control. That's a problem in this role, Patricia said. Deals don't go according to plan. Ever. I nodded. That was enough. No discussion about Olivia. No speculation. No emotion. Just evaluation. Send the standard follow-up, I said. We'll finalize by Friday. Patricia closed her laptop. Understood. They left a few minutes later. The room emptied. I stayed. The city outside hadn't changed. Same skyline. Same movement. Same noise filtered through glass. Inside, everything was still controlled, predictable. My phone buzzed on the table. I didn't check it. I didn't need to. I knew what was coming. Calls, messages, questions framed like accusations. Why didn't you tell us? Why did you let this happen? Why didn't you fix it? I'd heard all of it before. Different words, same meaning. I picked up Daniel's resume again. 12 years at Goldman, strong track record, clean execution history. On paper, he worked. In the room, he didn't. Not when it mattered. Not when something unexpected disrupted his frame. That was the job. Pressure. Uncertainty. Stakes high enough to break people who weren't ready. He broke. Not publicly, not dramatically, but enough. Enough that I wouldn't trust him in a negotiation where billions were on the line. I closed the folder, set it aside. No anger, no satisfaction. Just a decision. Clean. Final. I stood, left the boardroom, and walked back to my office. Work was waiting, and work didn't care about weddings. Daniel called Olivia from the lobby. I didn't see it, but I heard about it. David stopped by my office later that afternoon, leaning against the doorframe, like he always did when something was just unusual enough to be worth mentioning. Security flagged a situation downstairs. He said, I didn't look up from my screen. What kind of situation? Your candidate, he said. Daniel Brooks. He's been pacing the atrium for the last 40 minutes. On the phone. Loud. I kept typing. 40 minutes. 43, according to the guard. I nodded once. That tracks. David didn't move. You good? He asked. I'm working. He studied me for a second longer, then left. The door clicked shut. My phone buzzed 5 minutes later. Olivia. I let it ring once, twice. Answered on the third. What did you do? She snapped before I could speak. Her voice wasn't controlled anymore. It was sharp. Fractured. Hello, Olivia? Michael just called me. she said, words tumbling over each other. He said you interviewed him. He said you're the CEO of some billion-dollar company. He said you're on the cover of Forbes. Our company is valued at $2.1 billion. I said, not some. Silence. Then, what I own, 36% after dilution. I continued. On paper, that's roughly $750 million pre-tax. A sound came through the line. Not a word. Something smaller, like air getting knocked out of someone who didn't expect the hit. Why didn't you tell us, she said finally, her voice higher now, unstable. You didn't ask. That's insane, she snapped. You let us think you were struggling. You let us. She cut herself off, then started again. Dad is losing it. Mom doesn't even believe this. She thinks you're lying. She can read the Forbes article. I don't care about Forbes, Olivia shouted. I care about the fact that you've been hiding this for 7 years. I didn't hide anything. You did, she insisted. You let us humiliate ourselves. That's not what happened. It is exactly what happened, she shot back. Michael's parents think we're insane. His father called him. He knows your company. He's met you. He said you played in a charity golf tournament together last year. I didn't respond, and now Michael has to explain that you're my brother, she continued, voice breaking. And we told them you worked in tech support and we didn't invite you to the wedding because you'd embarrass us. A pause. Do you have any idea how that looks? She demanded. No, I said. And I don't care. Silence. Then the shift. Her breathing changed. You don't care, she repeated quietly. I don't. You just destroyed my relationship, she said. I didn't do anything. You could have told us, she snapped, at any point. You could have corrected us. I could have, but you didn't. No. Why? She demanded. I leaned back in my chair, looked out at the skyline. Because you weren't asking for the truth, I said. You were comfortable with what you believed. That's not fair. It's accurate. Her voice cracked. Michael's parents think we're liars, she said. They think we're social climbers. They think we deliberately misrepresented ourselves. I said nothing. They think I'm unstable, she added. They think my whole family is a mess. Another pause. Are you happy now? She asked. No, the word landed flat. Honest, not soft, not sharp, just there. She didn't respond right away. Then, God, you're unbelievable, she said, and the line went dead. My father called 11 minutes later. I answered. Rachel says you're a CEO, he said. His voice was tight, controlled. I am. Of what Nexora Systems? Silence. Then how much is it worth? $2.1 billion. A longer silence. You're lying. I'm not. Prove it. I pulled up the article. Sent the link. Check your email. I waited. Listened to him breathing. He didn't hang up. Didn't speak. Just read. It took him 40 seconds. Maybe less. This says you founded the company at 24, he said finally. Yes, the same year I told people you were still figuring things out. Yes, another pause. You raised $2 million. 2.5. Silence again. Why didn't you tell us? He asked. Same question, different tone. You didn't ask. That's not how this works, he said, anger creeping in. We're your family. You don't just hide something like this. I didn't hide it. You let us think you were failing. You decided that. You didn't correct us. No, that's the same thing. No, it isn't. His breath came sharper now. You made us look like fools, he said, in front of Daniel's family. Do you have any idea what they think of us now? I don't care what they think. Your sister is in pieces, he snapped. The wedding is in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. And now everything is... Was I invited? I asked. He stopped. That's not the point. It is. We were trying to protect her future, he said. Daniel's family is traditional. They value success, stability, and I don't represent that. That's not what I said. It's what you meant. Silence. Then we thought. He started, then stopped. Tried again. We thought if they met you, and you were just working some small tech job, living alone, no visible success, it would raise questions about Olivia, about our family. I let that sit, because her brother wasn't successful enough, I said. We didn't know you were successful. You didn't look. You never told us. I told you what I did. I said. You didn't listen. His voice broke slightly. Your mother is crying. Is she crying because she hurt me? I asked. Or because she's embarrassed Jesus? Ethan, he snapped. How can you be this cold? I'm not cold. I said. I'm clear. A long silence followed, heavy, uncomfortable. I don't know who you are anymore, he said finally. You never did, I said, and I hung up. I didn't hire Daniel Brooks, not because of Olivia, not because of the wedding, not because of the call from my father, or the messages that followed, or the way everything outside that boardroom had started to collapse. None of that factored into the decision. I didn't hire him because of what happened in that room. Pressure reveals people, not over time, not in controlled environments, in moments, unexpected ones, the kind you don't prepare for, the kind that don't care how good your resume looks. Daniel had the credentials: 12 years at Goldman, clean deal history, strong recommendations. On paper, he was exactly what we were looking for. But when the situation shifted, when the version of reality he walked in with broke apart in front of him, he didn't adjust. He froze. Then he reacted. Then he lost the thread. It was subtle. If you weren't looking for it, you might miss it. But I was. That was the job. We weren't hiring someone to execute predictable deals. We were hiring someone to lead when things stopped being predictable, when negotiations broke down, when numbers changed, when people lied, when pressure made the room unstable. That's where the real decisions happen. That's where you find out who can actually lead. Patricia said it best the next morning during our debrief. When he saw power he didn't expect, she said. He panicked. James nodded. That's not someone you want across the table when things get complicated. He added, things always get complicated. I didn't argue. I didn't need to. We sent the rejection email Friday afternoon. Standard language, professional, clean. We were impressed with your background. We've decided to move forward with another candidate whose experience more closely aligns with our current needs. No mention of the interview, no mention of Olivia, no mention of anything that didn't belong in that decision. He didn't reply. Olivia called 16 times that weekend. I didn't answer. My mother left 7 voicemails. They started soft, apologetic, careful, then shifted. Frustration, confusion, then anger. You should have told us. You made this worse. You need to fix this. My father sent 11 emails. The first one, we need to talk about this like adults. The last one, you owe your sister an apology for sabotaging her relationship. I didn't open most of them. The ones I did, I read once, then deleted. The wedding was scheduled for Saturday, May 18th, Country Club in Connecticut. I know that because my mother sent a photo at 3:47 p.m. Olivia in her dress. White lace, structured, expensive. She looked exactly like what they wanted her to be. The message underneath, she looks beautiful. I wish you could have been here. I didn't respond. I was in New York that weekend. Blackridge had invited me to speak at their leadership summit, panel on enterprise AI, 200 executives in the room, C-level, board members, people who didn't need explanations. I sat on stage next to their CEO and talked about scaling infrastructure, predictive modeling, long-term integration strategy, clear, focused, controlled, no noise, no narrative. Just work. Afterward, people came up to shake my hand, ask questions, talk about the future. No one asked me what I did. They already knew. The wedding happened. Without me, work didn't stop, and neither did I. After the panel, Margaret Liu, CEO of Blackridge Holdings, pulled me aside backstage. She didn't waste time. I heard about your sister's wedding, she said. I looked at her. How Daniel Brooks's father, she replied. Richard, he sits on our strategic advisory board. That tracked. He mentioned it last week. She continued. He called it remarkable. I didn't react. He said your family didn't know who you were. She went on, that you were excluded from a wedding because they thought you'd embarrass them. Then his son walked into your boardroom, asking for a job. A brief pause. He said it was the most complete failure of due diligence he's ever seen. I almost smiled. Accurate, I said. Margaret studied me. How do you feel about it? I thought about the question. Not the version people expect. Not anger. Not satisfaction. Clear, I said. She nodded once. Good, she said. Clarity scales. Emotion doesn't. A beat. For what it's worth, she added. Richard spoke highly of you, said you handled the interview with restraint. Most people would have made it personal. It wasn't personal, I said. It always is, she replied. You just didn't let it become unprofessional. That was the difference. The messages didn't stop. They shifted. Tone first, then intent. My father sent another email Tuesday morning. We made a mistake. But you made it worse by hiding this from us. We're family. We should have been able to trust each other. I read it once. Didn't reply. Olivia texted Thursday night. Daniel ended it. No greeting, no build-up, just that. His parents think I'm unstable. They think our whole family is a mess. They think we lied to them. A pause, then another message. Are you happy now? I didn't answer. Not because I didn't have one, because it didn't matter. My mother called Friday morning. I answered. Please, she said. Her voice was worn down, thinner. Please talk to us. I didn't say anything. Olivia is devastated. She continued. Your father doesn't know what to do. We didn't mean for this to happen. Yes, you did, I said. Silence. We were trying to protect her, she said quietly. By excluding me. By avoiding complications. Complications? I repeated. Her voice broke. We didn't know who you were. That's not the problem, I said. You only wanted to know if I was useful. That's not fair. It's accurate. A long pause. Let us fix this, she said. Come to dinner. Let us apologize. Let us start over. I thought about it, about sitting across from them while they rewrote the past, adjusted it, made it easier to live with. No, I said, Ethan, I need time. How much I don't know. That's not fair. Maybe not, I said, but it's honest. I ended the call. Clarity didn't fix anything, it just made everything visible. And once you see something clearly, you can't go back to pretending you didn't. Blackridge closed the acquisition in August, $2.6 billion, all cash. The announcement hit on a Tuesday morning. Wall Street Journal ran it on the front page of the business section. Name, numbers, structure of the deal. I stayed on as president of the newly formed data analytics division. My equity converted clean, after taxes. It came out to just over $460 million. The number didn't change anything, not the part that mattered. My father sent me the article, no message. Just the link. I saw it, didn't respond. 6 months later, in February, a letter arrived at my office. Handwritten, cream envelope, my name in my mother's handwriting. I opened it at my desk. Ethan, we were wrong. Not just about the wedding, about everything. About how we saw you. About what we thought success looked like. About what we valued. You were building something extraordinary, and we dismissed it because we didn't understand it. Because it didn't look like what we expected. Because you didn't present it the way we thought successful people should. I keep thinking about that wedding 7 years ago. You were 24. You had already built something real. And we reduced you to something small because it was easier for us to understand. I'm sorry. Your father is sorry. Olivia is working through things, but she's sorry too. We'd like to see you when you're ready. We love you. We always did. We just didn't show it in a way that mattered. Mom, I read it once, then again, then I folded it and put it in my desk drawer. I didn't throw it away, but I didn't answer it either. Not yet. I saw Olivia almost 2 years later, December, Starbucks in River North. She was standing near the counter with someone I didn't recognize. She saw me first, froze, looked away. I walked over anyway. Hey, she turned back slowly. Hey, she looked different, not worse, just less certain. How are you? She asked. I'm good. A pause. I'm sorry, she said. No build-up, no explanation. About the wedding, about what I said, about what I thought. I nodded once. I know. She held my gaze. Does that matter? I considered it. Did it fix anything? No. Did it change something? Maybe. I don't know yet, I said. She nodded. That's fair. Another pause. I'm engaged again, she said. Different person. He actually asked about my family before forming an opinion. A small smile. He wanted to meet you. That matters, I said. It does. Silence settled between us. Not hostile, just unfamiliar. Maybe we could get coffee sometime, she said. If you want. Maybe. That was enough. I had dinner with my parents 2 months later. Same city, different room, quiet restaurant in Bellevue. My father wore a suit. My mother brought a photo album. We wanted to show you something, she said, opening it. Pictures, graduation, first apartment, birthdays. Proof they'd been there. We were present, she said. You were there, I replied. But you didn't see me. My father didn't look up. We see you now, he said. I watched him for a second. I asked, or do you see the valuation? He flinched, didn't answer. My mother closed the album. Tell us what you need, she said. I thought about that. Not emotionally, practically. I need you to understand something, I said. I didn't hide from you. You decided what I was without asking. You filled in the blanks with something that made sense to you. They listened, didn't interrupt. You saw Olivia marrying into something you recognized. I continued. Title, money, status. You saw me building something you didn't understand, and you assumed it wasn't real. My father exhaled slowly. We were wrong. Were you? I asked. Or are you just embarrassed now that other people saw it first? He didn't answer. Neither did my mother. We ate, talked about neutral things, weather, family updates, nothing that required context. When the bill came, my father paid. Can we do this again? He asked. Maybe. That was all they were getting, for now. Work stayed consistent, predictable in the ways that mattered. We expanded the division, 7 offices, over 400 employees. New platform launching in Q3, AI-driven forecasting. Enterprise scale. My days were structured. My nights were long. Patricia still brought coffee at 7. James still sent late-night architecture notes. David still reminded me to eat and told me when I was wrong. Nothing there needed explanation. It worked. I see my parents once a month now, sometimes twice. We don't talk about the wedding, or Daniel, or what they thought I was. We talk about the present, sometimes the future, never the past. That's the boundary. Olivia and I text occasionally, short messages, neutral. She got married last summer, small ceremony. I was invited. I went. Her husband asked what I did. Then he listened to the answer. That mattered more than anything she said before. We're rebuilding, carefully. I don't keep people out, I just don't let them in the same way. Not anymore. The door isn't closed, but it has a lock now, and I'm the one holding the key. If you've ever been underestimated by the people who were supposed to know you best, you're not alone. Sometimes they don't change because they understand you. They change because the world forces them to see you. And by then, you get to decide what access looks like. If this story meant something to you, hit subscribe. More stories every week. Names and details have been changed for privacy. Any resemblance is coincidental.